Xiao Zhan suffers panic attack on set, crew forced to shut down shoot. The heat inside the studio wasn't just from the lights. Something else lingered in the air that morning. Something nobody could explain. Xiao Zhan had arrived early. Hair perfectly styled. Wardrobe ready. Lines memorized. But when he stepped in front of the camera, everything unraveled. They had barely started rehearsals. The director gave the cue. The scene was supposed to be simple. 2 lines. A walk. A smile. But Xiao Zhan just stood there. Frozen. His lips trembled. His chest rose and fell faster than the crew expected. And then, without warning, he turned away and sank to the floor. One hand gripped his chest. The other dug into the carpet. The sound he made was not a scream. It was a whisper of agony. A broken gasp. A release of something he had buried too long. Crew members rushed toward him. Some calling his name. Others calling for help. The set went into complete chaos. No one knew what was happening. But everyone knew it was serious. The director froze. The producer shouted for medics. His assistant dropped everything and ran to him. And Xiao Zhan, beloved actor, national icon, collapsed in the middle of a romantic scene. Not because of heat. Not because of exhaustion. But because of something deeper. Something emotional. Something that could no longer be hidden. 15 minutes later, the shoot was cancelled. Not postponed. Cancelled. The production crew scattered. No one knew whether to pack up or stay. His manager helped carry him off the set. His breathing was shallow. His fingers still trembling. Inside a private trailer, Xiao Zhan sat curled into himself. Pale. Silent. Staring at nothing. The on-site doctor checked him over and gave one quiet diagnosis. Panic attack. A real one. Debilitating. Physical. Paralyzing. The kind that didn't come from fatigue, but from emotional strain that had gone unchecked for too long. He was taken to a private clinic. No lights. No sirens. Just a quiet black car that slipped through the lot unseen. By the time he was admitted, the news had already broken. Fans shocked as Xiao Zhan collapses on set. Production forced to halt after actor suffers breakdown. Insider claims it's been building 4 weeks. In the clinic, a psychiatrist waited. A familiar one. Someone Xiao Zhan had met before, years ago, during the chaos that followed the public reveal of his relationship with Wang Yibo. He hadn't needed help back then. Not really. But now, he couldn't even speak without shaking. The doctor didn't rush him. Didn't ask why he hadn't come in sooner. Instead, they sat in silence until Xiao Zhan whispered, "I can't do this anymore." Outside the clinic, fans gathered. Some praying. Some crying. Some just waiting for answers. No one had seen it coming. But those who had followed his recent story knew better. This wasn't sudden. This wasn't random. It had been building since the day Wang Yibo collapsed. Since the hospital room where Xiao Zhan walked out with Shen Yu. Since the media attacks. Since the interviews. Since the day their daughter asked, "Is Baba ever coming back?" He hadn't cried in front of anyone. Not even her. But he had wept into pillows. Into his own arms at night. Into the space where Wang Yibo's body used to sleep beside him. Everything in his life had become a stage. And somewhere in the middle of pretending to be okay, he forgot what it meant to actually be okay. Back at the clinic, Xiao Zhan finally opened up. He told the doctor everything. From the moment he left that hospital room to the moment he collapsed today. He said he didn't mean to leave Yibo behind. That Shen Yu was crying. That he panicked. He said he didn't know if they were broken or just lost. That every morning he woke up hoping a message would come. That every night he went to bed wondering if he had made the biggest mistake of his life. He spoke about the daughter they shared. How she had stopped asking about Yibo. How that silence hurt more than the questions. He admitted something else. Something he had told no one. He had started forgetting lines. Not on set. But in life. He couldn't remember what day it was without checking. He skipped meals without noticing. He missed calls. Ignored scripts. lost weight. And when he saw the script that morning, the one that had a line nearly identical to what Ibor had said the night they got married, his brain just stopped. That line was, "No matter what happens, don't walk away." He had walked away. And he had never forgiven himself for it. Meanwhile, across the city, Wang Ibor sat in silence. He had heard. Of course he had. The headlines were impossible to ignore. His hands trembled as he read the news. Not out of anger, but out of fear. He knew what it felt like to lose control. He knew what it meant to drown in emotion and not know how to swim back to the surface. He wanted to call, to text, to say something. But what right did he have? After all the silence between them, he paced his living room for hours. Phone in hand. Number on screen. Just one message. Just one word. But his fingers never moved. Not until nightfall. Not until their daughter called him and whispered, "Daddy, I think Papa's sick." He nearly dropped the phone. The next morning, Wang Ibor arrived at the clinic. No press. No fans. No announcement. Just him. The receptionist recognized him but said nothing. He asked for Xiao Zhan's room. Was told he might not want to see anyone. Ibor said, "Let me try." Xiao Zhan sat by the window. Hospital gown. Blank stare. No makeup. Just him. Real. Shaken. He didn't turn when the door opened. He didn't need to. He knew who it was. Ibor stepped inside. Closed the door. "I'm sorry," Xiao Zhan said first. Before anything else. Before breathing. "I didn't come to fight," Ibor said. "I came to ask if you're okay." "I'm not," Xiao Zhan admitted. "Then neither am I," Ibor replied. They didn't hug. They didn't cry. They just Saturday. Two men. Two hearts. Two histories too tangled to erase. "I thought you hated me," Xiao Zhan said. "I tried," Ibor answered. "But I couldn't." They talked for hours. About everything. About nothing. About the pain. The pressure. The fear of disappointing fans. The guilt of disappointing each other. They talked about their daughter. About how she had stopped smiling the same way. About how maybe, just maybe, there was still something worth saving. The clinic released Xiao Zhan that evening. Under one condition. He was not to return to set. Not this week. Not next. Not until he could stand in front of a camera without pretending he was fine. He agreed. Ibor drove him home. No assistants. No press. Just the two of them in silence. When they arrived, their daughter ran to the door. Eyes wide. Tears already forming. She looked at Ibor first. Then at Xiao Zhan. And for the first time in weeks, she smiled. Not the polite smile. Not the forced one. But the smile that came from knowing. Her family, for at least tonight, was whole again. Online. Speculation exploded. Some fans were furious. Some hopeful. Others exhausted by the back and forth. But most, quietly, understood. They weren't just stars. They were people. People in pain. People trying. "I'm still afraid to lose you." Wang Ibor stays by Xiao Zhan's side as recovery begins. The sun had not yet fully risen when Xiao Zhan opened his eyes. For the first time in weeks, he hadn't woken up gasping for air. There was no dream. No memory jolting him from sleep. Just the quiet rhythm of the early morning and the distant sound of their daughter laughing softly in the hallway. Beside him, the space wasn't empty. Wang Ibor had fallen asleep in the armchair, still dressed, arms folded across his chest, head tilted at an uncomfortable angle. He hadn't said he would stay. He just hadn't left. Xiao Zhan stared at him for a long moment. The lines on his face looked deeper, tired, worn down. Not from lack of sleep but from something heavier. The kind of weight no doctor could fix. The kind that came from loving someone who kept slipping through your fingers. In the kitchen, the scent of toast and warm milk filled the air. Ibor stirred a pot silently, moving with a precision that came only with distraction. Their daughter sat at the table, feet swinging under the chair, drawing stick figures on the back of a grocery receipt. She looked up when Xiao Zhan entered. The smile that broke across her face was real. Not the polite smile she had learned to wear around reporters or fans, but the one he hadn't seen since everything started falling apart. "Morning," she said. He knelt beside her, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Did you sleep well?" She nodded. "I dreamed we were all watching cartoons again. The old ones." Xiao Zhan forced a smile, though it trembled. "I'd like that." They sat together, all three, for the first time in what felt like forever. No assistants. No cameras. Just breakfast and silence and soft glances that said more than words could. But reality waited. The doorbell rang just after 10. A courier. A thick envelope addressed to Xiao Zhan. He opened it slowly. Inside were revised scripts. A new shooting schedule. And a firm note from the production team asking for a timeline of his return. His hand trembled again. Not from fear. From pressure. From being reminded that the world had not paused just because he had. He dropped the envelope on the table. "I'm not ready." Ibor didn't say anything. Not right away. Instead, he took the envelope and placed it in the drawer, out of sight. "You don't have to be." Not yet. Later that afternoon, Ibor found him in the backyard. Xiao Zhan was sitting on the grass, shoes off, fingers running through the blades as if trying to remember what peace felt like. "She asked me if you were moving back in," he said without looking up. Ibor sat beside him. "And what did you tell her?" "I said I didn't know." Silence. Wind moved through the leaves above them. "I don't want to be visitors in our own life," Xiao Zhan whispered. "I don't either," Ibor replied. They talked then. Really talked. Not just about the recent panic. Not just about the silence between them. But about everything. The marriage. The backlash. The public obsession. The betrayal they both felt when cameras captured their pain and made it entertainment. Xiao Zhan looked at him. "There were days I hated you." "I know." "There were days I hated myself more." "I know that too." Ibor reached out and took his hand. "I never stopped loving you, even when I couldn't look at you. I never stopped needing you, even when I told myself I didn't." Night fell. The house was quiet again. Their daughter asleep. The world paused. Ibor stood in the hallway, unsure whether to leave or stay. Xiao Zhan walked up behind him. "You don't have to decide tonight." He nodded. "I'll sleep on the couch." "No," Xiao Zhan said. "Sleep where you want. Just don't disappear in the morning." The next morning, they woke to chaos. Not in the house. In the world. A tabloid had leaked the story of Xiao Zhan's clinic stay. Not just the panic attack. But the visit from Ibor. The private conversation. The way they left the clinic together. Headlines screamed betrayal. Some fans rejoiced. Others demanded clarity. There were speculations about Shenyu. Accusations about PR stunts. And worst of all, an anonymous source claimed that the panic attack had been intentional, staged to create sympathy and repair their image. Xiao Zhan sat with his phone in his lap, face blank. Ibor took it from him and turned it off. "You don't need to see that." "I already did." "Then forget it." But forgetting was harder than it sounded. By noon, reporters had begun to circle. They wanted interviews. Statements. Clarification. Ibor's agent called. So did Xiao Zhan's. Both advised silence. But the silence was turning dangerous. Their daughter came home from school and asked why people were standing near the gate with cameras. Xiao Zhan hugged her tightly. Too tightly. She didn't complain. That evening, they recorded a video. Not polished. Not scripted. Just raw. Honest. The two of them sitting on the couch. Speaking to the camera like it was a mirror. Xiao Zhan spoke first. "I collapsed because I couldn't hold the weight anymore. I wasn't pretending. I wasn't acting. I was breaking." Ibor took over. "We've made mistakes. We've said things we can't take back. But what we've never done is fake our pain." They didn't ask for forgiveness. They didn't ask for applause. They just told the truth. And in doing so, They reminded the world. They were human. The video went viral within minutes. Fans flooded the comment sections with support. Others remained skeptical. But the tone had shifted. From judgment to concern. For the first time in a long time, people listened. The next day, Xiao Zhan sat in the garden alone. Ibor approached him slowly. "Your daughter asked if we're okay now," he said. "And what did you say?" "I said we're trying." Xiao Zhan looked up. "That's all we can do." Ibor hesitated. "There's something else. Something I didn't tell you." Xiao Zhan turned. Eyes narrowing. "Now's not the time for secrets." "It's not a secret. Just something I was afraid to say." He exhaled. "When you collapsed on set, I was in a meeting. I was about to sign a contract for a film that would take me out of the country for 6 months. Xiao Zhan stared at him. "And? I didn't sign it." "Why?" "Because when I got the call about you, I realized no project matters more than being where I should have been all along." Tears welled in Xiao Zhan's eyes. "You stayed." "I always wanted to. I just forgot how." They sat side by side again. The way they used to. The way that felt like home. And for once, they didn't need to say anything at all.